So as Brad had mentioned in his presentation, Doc Savage, pulp novels, 1930s and 1940s, but Philip Jose Farmer wrote a biography and revealed the true name of this real-life person, Doc Savage, was James Clark Wildman. So Wildman, Savage, code names that are applied to these people to conceal their identities. But one thing that Philip Jose Farmer never did, he never revealed what happened to Doc Savage after the last super saga occurred in 1949. So whatever happened to Doc, what was his final fate? And we have a couple of different sources of information about what happened to this adventurer, and they're contradictory. So we have what happened, what was revealed in the DC Comics miniseries and subsequent regular series that came out in the mid-1980s and ran through 1990s. And then we have an unpublished manuscript, also by Philip Jose Farmer, which is in addition to his published biography. And the two don't seem to mesh on their face. So we have the Doc Savage comic series from DC Comics, and in that series, they posit that Doc Savage disappeared in the 1940s. He left behind a pregnant wife who was a Mayan princess out of the original pulp novels. And he disappeared into some kind of pyramid alien transporter. No one really knew where he went. He was gone. And he did have a son, Clark Savage III, who was killed in 1966. But he fortuitously also left behind a pregnant girlfriend. And Clark Savage IV was born in 1967. Then the DC Comics series went on to reveal that Doc Savage actually returned to Earth from the interdimensional rift, the alien transporter that he was trapped in for 40 years. He had not been aged. He and his grandson and a new team of adventurers went on to have similar Doc Savage adventures fighting crime around the world in the late 1980s and through 1990. And then the DC Comics series ends, and we don't know anything more about Doc Savage after 1990. And of course, being a real person, we want to know where DC Comics got their information about him so they could write their slightly fictionalized exploits of him. Current news reports, Doc also had a history of contracting with particular publishers to tell fictionalized versions of his life. He did this with the original pulp novel publisher, Street and Smith, in the 1940s. So he must have gotten in touch with DC Comics, or else they approached him and came to a deal to tell these stories, albeit fictionalized. But again, it doesn't really sync up with what Philip Jose Farmer learned about Doc Savage. And we know that Farmer also must have had some kind of line into Doc because he was able to reveal the details of his life in his original biography, which again ends in 1949. So last year, actually very close to the time of last year's Comic-Con, I went to visit Philip Jose Farmer for the first time. He lives in Peoria, Illinois, with another friend and fan named Mike Croteau, and we had the opportunity to dig around in Phil's basement, which was just an amazing experience, and we discovered an unpublished manuscript called The Evil at Pemberley House. And Pemberley House, it becomes very clear when you start to read into the chapters, is about a woman named Patricia Wildman. And she was born, takes place in 1972. She's 22 years old. So she was clearly born in 1950. Her father is Dr. Wildman, who ran a crime college in upstate New York to cure criminals. And we know from the original pulp novels of Doc Savage that Doc Savage did the same thing. And as you read this unpublished manuscript, it becomes very clear that Dr. Wildman retired in 1950, married, had a daughter, Patricia, and the novel goes on to tell about Patricia's exploits in the early 1970s. According to Farmer, Doc Savage did not marry a Mayan princess, did not have a son, and had his daughter. So we have two contradictory sources of information about this heroic person. And Again, where did Phil Farmer get his information? Well, he could have gotten it directly from Doc Savage himself, or he could have gotten it from Patricia Wildman herself. But either way, the two stories don't seem to mesh.